Talk about your number one Playboy's hate list, top 10 attack on Playboy. Talk about what Playboy did.
All right. Well, last June, Playboy writer Guy Cimbalo decided to write up his the 10 conservative women that he'd most like to have sex with. And he used some of the most derogatory language possible to describe these acts that he would like to commit with these women. And the women included Michelle Malkin, Fox News' Megyn Kelly, The View's Elizabeth Hasselbeck, Mary Catherine Ham, Minnesota Representative Michelle Bachmann. And he, the things that he was saying about them in this article were things that would get any man fired in an office for sexual harassment if he were to say them, to a woman that he worked with. And yet, we didn't hear any complaints about this from the National Organization of Women. We didn't hear any complaints about this from others in the mainstream news media, and instead all of the complaints came from the conservative side. You didn't see anybody else really stepping up and trying to defend these women from this
and some of the other women you went after was Fox News' Megyn Kelly, Mary Catherine Ham, of course Michelle Bachmann, and others, and he used the F-bomb rather liberally in describing what he wanted to do to these women. And it wasn't about sex. I think it was more about violence. When I read what he wrote, it isn't about having loving sex. It's about having perverted violence only against conservative females. Yeah,
that's exactly it. The way that we phrased it was he'd like to commit violent sexual acts against these women. And again, it's something, if any normal man said that in an office setting about any woman, he'd be fired for it. But yet, because it's Playboy magazine, he kind of gets a free pass for doing this kind of thing.
If this had happened, say, an article as well read and disseminated as Playboy, say, wanting to have violent sex with Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi, think there would have been a different reaction?
Yes, I absolutely think there would have been. I think there would have been a huge outcry from the National Organization of Women. At some point, Planned Parenthood probably even would have stepped in. The Women's Media Center, all of these liberal women's groups would have joined forces and done everything they could to make Guy Cimbalo's life absolutely miserable. We saw this in the primary, in the 2008 primary, when MSNBC's David Schuster was making comments about Chelsea Clinton, Hillary's daughter. And within, he had made a comment saying that the Clinton campaign was pimping out Chelsea Clinton, which is in no way anything worse than what this guy said in Playboy. Yet, once Now heard about it, David Schuster was pulled off the air within a week. And we saw, again, the outcry during the primary season when Rush Limbaugh was making comments about watching Hillary Clinton age in the White House. And we saw Now kind of take to the streets again and try to publicize this and talk about what a terrible person Rush Limbaugh was. But yet this guy, is saying absolutely disgusting things, basically saying that he wanted to rape these women, and there's nothing but silence from the liberal women's group.
So the National Organization for Liberal Women were somewhat silent.
Yes, they were.
I've had those on a guest in the past, and I asked him questions about how proud. I had the National Organization for Women's president on last September, and I asked her, you must feel particularly proud that a woman like Sarah Palin may be a heartbeat from the presidency. You must be proud, right? And there was like 5 seconds of silence, and the question back to me was, why are you asking me that question? I said, because you're the National Organization for Women, and a woman's been nominated by the Republican Party to sit a heartbeat away from the American presidency. If McCain would win, you got to feel proud about that. And then she just said, words came out of her mouth for like 2 or 3 minutes, but they didn't make any sense. That they don't get it. Now, let's move on to number 4, which is my favorite. I've been Keith Olbermann's worst person in the world 9 times so far. He said some rather nasty things about Michelle Malkin. What did he say?
Yes, he did. Keith Olbermann compared Michelle Malkin to a mashed-up bag of meat with lipstick on it. This came last fall after the video hit the internet of the kids, the school children singing their praises to Obama. And he claimed that whoever had posted the video was receiving hate mail and death threats because of something that Michelle Malkin had written about it. And so apparently in Keith Olbermann's mind, it's perfectly fine to say this about a woman with whom he disagrees.
So as long as you're a female, Michelle Malkin, I've had her on several times. She's the mother of 1 or 2 kids. They're young. She's very bright. And so he can refer to her as meat with lipstick on it, and there's not much outcry. Was he ever suspended for that, Keith Olbermann?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. We did see one person from Air America, well, the now defunct Air America, step up and say, they shouldn't be saying this about Michelle Malkin. They shouldn't be saying this about any woman. But other than that, everybody else in the mainstream media was pretty silent about it.
Let's move on to the NBC's Today Show. On June the 9th, they had a discussion about Sarah Palin and the vice presidency. This would have been, about 8 months after she lost the vice presidency, running for that. And what happened on the Today Show?
Well, we had Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda Kotb talking to a panel about the future of the GOP and people in the GOP. And so, of course, Sarah Palin's name was brought up, and comedian Chuck Nice decided that it would be a good idea to compare her to herpes.
Herpes?
He said, but Sarah Palin to the GOP, this is what I've got to say. She is very much like herpes. She's not going away.
So it's like can be a sexually transmitted disease. So Sarah Palin, the mother of, 4 or 5, including a special needs child, is compared to a sexually transmitted disese.
Yes.
What was the outcry from NBC about that one?
There was nothing. Nobody said anything. Not even Kathy Lee Gifford, not Hoda, not anybody on the panel. The NBC's Dan Abrams was on the panel as well, and all he said was, "It must be nice." Something along the lines of, "It must be nice being Chuck Nice. You can say those kinds of things without any repercussions." So
if David Schuster refers to a 26-year-old Chelsea Clinton about being pimped out, he's pulled off the air.
Yeah.
But if the NBC's Today Show, the flagship of morning television news, refers to Sarah Palin as a sexually transmitted disease, there's no repercussions.
No, none.
Well, let's move on to another good one. I have the story here. David Letterman's top 10 list is pretty good. Explain what happened there.
All right. Well, David Letterman decided that his top 10 list back in June was going to be about Sarah Palin and her trip to New York. It was titled The Top 10 Highlights of Sarah Palin's trip to New York, and his number 2 on that list was bought makeup from Bloomingdale's to update her slutty flight attendant look.
Slutty. So Sarah Palin, the mother of 4 or 5, married for many years, is a slut and looks like a flight attendant. Of course, I haven't seen too many flight attendants recently that look like Sarah Palin, but nonetheless, he can refer to Sarah Palin as a slut, no repercussions. If you refer to Chelsea Clinton as being pimped out, suddenly there's suspensions.
Yes, there is. And Letterman also made a very crude joke about Sarah Palin's 14-year-old daughter, Willow, being impregnated at Yankee Stadium by Alex Rodriguez during the same segment.
So, which is statutory rape. So the statutory rape of Sarah Palin's daughter is okay. Referring to Chelsea Clinton as being pimped out, you get suspended.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Now, Liz Cheney, I've had her on a couple times. Ed Schultz is a clown, a left-wing fat clown. He wants to be the left-wing Rush Limbaugh with no success. Refers to Liz Cheney as Daddy's little girl.
Yes. This is just completely sexist on his part. Liz Cheney is somebody, she holds a law degree from the University of Chicago. She's served in various roles at the State Department. She obviously knows what she's talking about, and yet people like Ed Schultz, people like the people on MSNBC in general, feel that it's necessary and okay to refer to her as a daddy's little girl. And if a liberal woman with the same qualifications was on there, they would never say that. It would all be about how empowering she is and how she's such a role model for women. But because Liz Cheney is conservative and speaks her mind about that, she's derided as a daddy's little girl.
Since you're a female-type human being, can you explain to me why there is a free fire zone around conservative women that would never be permitted around liberal women? Why?
I think it's because a lot of times, conservative women have their facts straight, and they know what they're talking about. And in a lot of these cases, I think that these guys just can't hold up their arguments to the facts that the conservatives present. And so rather than debate the policies, debate the issues, they're going to go for the low blow, and they're going to go and assassinate their characters, assassinate their looks, and just drag them through the mud.
And they're using the gender to do it. And the mainstream media never would put up with piling on an African-American, a Mexican-American, or a female unless the black guy is a conservative or the Hispanic is a conservative or the woman is a conservative, then anything is okay.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, we've seen it this year already, and even last year so far through Obama's presidency. Even when we have legitimate criticisms of his policies, nothing about who he is or his character or anything like that, just his policies. His critics are labeled racist.
All right, Colleen Raezler, where can the American people find this column, if anywhere?
You can find it at our website, www.cultureandmedia.com, and you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter, Culture Links, at our website.
Colleen Raezler, do you have any questions for me?
No, I just really appreciate everything that you do, Bill.
Colleen, you are a great American.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll do it again. Let's continue with more.